My name is Holly Christensen. I am doing my presentation, my restoration project on what we can learn about gaining faith from Emma Smith and Joseph Smith's practice of plural marriage. So this presentation covers major concept 4, which is Joseph Smith's practice of plural marriage, in unit 11, eternal marriage and plural marriage. This is a policy doctrine because polygamy specifically is not an eternal or core doctrine, but polygamy is a timely version of doctrine to support the eternal doctrine of marriage. The two academic sources I used in this presentation were Spencer Fluman's A Subject That Can Bear Investigation, Faith and Joseph Smith's youngest plural wife in the book No Weapon Shall Prosper, New Light on Sensitive Issues, and Brian C. Hales's Joseph Smith's Polygamy. It was extremely difficult to find modern prophetic sources discussing Joseph Smith's practice of polygamy, so my prophetic sources both came from the prophet Brigham Young, a contemporary of Joseph Smith. I listed 3 quotes from Joseph Smith's Journal of Discourses discussing Joseph Smith's journey with accepting the doctrine of polygamy and Emma Smith's reaction to polygamy. He ever gets her. This quote I like because it shows that Emma was not keen on the idea of polygamy at first. She was very opposed. And Joseph Smith knew that, and he knew that it was something that Emma and him would have to come to together and would have to work at to be able to accept it. The 2 D and C verses that I chose are both from chapter 132, which is the chapter that is really devoted to the new doctrine of polygamy or plural marriage. My first Doctrine and Covenants quote includes several verses in chapter 132 discussing different Old Testament prophets like Abraham, David, Solomon, and Moses, and how they all have plural wives. This discussion ends with the Lord saying in verse 40, I am the Lord thy God, and I give unto thee, my servant Joseph Smith, an appointment and restore all things, meaning restoring the practice of multiple wives. My next Doctrine and Covenants quote is verse 165, or is verse 65 of the same chapter. This verse is discussing the role of the wife, especially the first wife, in a plural marriage. Therefore it shall be lawful in me, if she receive not this law, for him to receive all things whatsoever I, the Lord his God, will give unto him, because she did not believe and administer unto him according to my word. She then becomes the transgressor. This quote really shows how important it was for the wives to accept polygamy, even saying that like they will be the sinner in the situation if they don't accept the Lord's word. My next quote is from the Joseph Smith Papers. This quote is from several years before polygamy ever became a mainstream doctrine in the Mormon Church or the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This quote says, Verily, thus saith the Lord unto you, my servant Joseph, that insomuch as you have inquired of my hand to know and understand wherein I, the Lord, justified my servants Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and also Moses, David, and Solomon, my servants, as touching the principle and doctrine of their having many wives and concubines. This is important because it shows that Joseph Smith was praying and studying about polygamy long before he brought the doctrine to others, including Emma, showing it was a long and prayerful process and not something that was spur of the moment or made out of lust or anything like that. 2 key concepts in this presentation are that trust and obedience to God and his servants is essential to gaining a testimony of the gospel. No one gained a testimony of polygamy right away. A lot of people took a lot of time to become comfortable with the doctrine. It was something that was very different and not really accepted in the society of the saints. And they only gained testimony of the gospel through trust and prayerful work to figure out for themselves if polygamy was right. The second concept is that faith and comfort with difficult doctrine does not have to be immediate, but will come through work. I think a lot of times we can be discouraged if things don't feel right immediately, like there's something wrong with us, or that we're not as righteous as other people who do have comfort and faith in doctrine right off the bat. It's okay to be hesitant at first, and faith and confirmation in that doctrine will come through prayerful study of the scriptures and what the prophets of God are saying about it. Another key takeaway that I really got from studying for this presentation was that it's all right to not understand or be comfortable with the concept of plural marriage. This is something that I have really struggled with myself. It's not something that I really love about the history of the church, and it's always made me uncomfortable. Emma Smith was a righteous daughter of God and a righteous wife, but she still struggled with the doctrine, and that's okay. And also that God always has a reason for his commandments. Um, it's hard to understand, I think, from a modern perspective, why this would be something that God would implement in a time where it was not acceptable. People did not like polygamy. It caused people to leave the church. It caused the government to come after the saints in Nauvoo and in Utah. It was kind of an uphill battle right from the beginning, and it all really depends on if we trust God to have a reason for this, which even if we don't understand right now, I have faith that we will understand later. And that is, I think, one of the biggest lessons that I have had to learn about polygamy, and that I think probably a lot of the saints in that time had to learn about polygamy. And with that, that is my presentation. Thank you.